Hey, we're Overbook Besties, and we're going to be talking about books and probably a little bit of reality TV. So if you're new here, welcome. And if you're not, thanks for coming back. I'm Alana.
And I'm Sin. We are covering the last half of Crown of Midnight. I have been waiting for this pod for so long. Alana, if you are joining us, we were doing a reread, but now we are all on the same page. Selena is Aelin, the flipping queen we've been talking about and sprinkling all through the books. She is her. Oh my God. Did you see it coming now on the reread?
Yes. Okay. And so I am so glad we can finally talk about this because the entire first book, I was like, here's some of the signs, but I can't say anything.
Yes.
So I feel like I was more attuned to it, though. I definitely was looking for those little moments because after finishing the whole series and reading about other people's interpretations, I kept hearing and seeing that Sarah J. Maas has put all these little like Easter eggs in, and I didn't pick up on them in the first read. So now I definitely was looking for them.
Okay, so my husband is reading the series actually, and he was like, "Yeah, I saw it coming," and I was like waiting for him to finish the book. He's like, "Yeah, I mean, it was so obvious." And now on the reread, I'm like, I mean, there were so many clues, and then I just went phew, over my head. Like, what was I missing? But some of my favorite moments, and I saw this on Instagram, but in the beginning of the very first book, there's clues right there. Like at some point, she's talking to Dorian and she says something to him, and Kale goes, "Your Majesty," and she has a reaction to it. And in the book,
Yes.
when you're reading it for the first time, you're like, well, why is she caught off guard? Because she came into the meeting not really having any kind of feelings that were negative. She was just like, okay, where am I? I'm good. Everything's going to be fine. But then why'd she react to that? And it's like, because she's Her Majesty. And that was a good one. And then the little like woodland creatures that are following her
And leaving
throughout
her
the
little flowers.
right at the beginning of the flipping book. And we were all just like, oh, so magic is gone, but they're just following all of you guys. Cool. No big deal. Yeah. So, anyways, I loved that reveal. And then also, as you get towards the end of the second book, again, like up until she says it, I never clued in. When Kale reads the whole family lineage and he's like, this is who she is, that's when I found out. But even the
Yes.
last few chapters, the clues were there. She's singing a different language, and Nehemia's grave. She turned Faye. And I'm still like,
Okay, and I think I was the same on the first read. I didn't think she was as high up as Queen. I thought definitely she's Fae and she's powerful, but
right.
similar to how Kale was looking for her in the genealogy, like, oh, she must be part of a powerful family. Not that she is the powerful
Yeah,
family.
yeah. I thought a story was going along the lines of she was going to go meet up with Aelin, not she was, in fact, Aelin. So, whatever on that front.
Yeah.
I'm glad that that's now out of the way and we can talk about it and not have to like pretend we don't know because there were clues. Which takes us back to the beginning of the book. Not as exciting, but Nehemia is dead.
My gosh. I think connecting those 2 points, that was something that was really heartbreaking to me was that we finally learn Selena is Aelin and she can't even talk to Nehemia about it. And it's like this huge piece of both of them that would have been so connecting, and we lost Nehemia so early in this part that, yeah, it just made me really sad for Aelin, Selena. How are we going to call her? Selena or Aelin? Because
I say Selena for the rest of this book and then potentially for the next book. And we'll see. I have to remember how the book after that kind of starts and how she's speaking on herself. So for this book, I'm going to continue Selena because that's how she's going. And
perfect.
because I'm not ready yet to part with the fact that I finally know how to pronounce her name correctly. So,
Only took 3 podcasts.
wow. Okay. Well, no one corrected me. So, and with Nehemia's death and finding out that it's Graves by way of this council member, what was your thought process watching that pan out and seeing this side of her?
I mean, I think I've said it before, but the badassery, the intelligence, like the connecting of the dots, and again, what a beautiful moment where she has this knowledge of, I know who kills like that, and
Yeah.
I know what he's gonna be doing because he's probably paid so well that he's going off and spending all of this money. Like, I loved, loved, love how she was able to put the breadcrumbs together.
100%. I also loved getting his point of view where he's like, well, it's been a week since it happened. He's not putting together that she's, in mourning and he thinks he's gotten away with it. And that he actually has motive for wanting to take on this job. He really hates her because she's the one who knocked him out of the tournament and did so in such a demeaning way. So it works on so many levels. Yeah. And I also love
And
seeing her in that way.
yes, agreed. And the layers of grave too. Like you learn he wanted to be part of Arobyn's assassins and he wasn't able to. And so it's not even just about Selena, but about what she represents that he wasn't allowed to be a part of.
Right. Do you feel like Nehemia knew her death was coming specifically from Archer Graves, or do you think she was just surrendering herself to the impending threat?
I think just surrendering based on the conversation Selena had with Elena afterwards, where she
Mhm.
talks about, like, does it really matter the details of her knowing?
Right.
And reflecting on that small interaction that Nehemia and Elena had in the first book. I think she knew it was coming and she knew it had to happen, but she didn't know how it would happen or by whose hand. What
Right.
did you think?
I think she knew there was a threat coming and she just was resigned to letting it happen to her. So I agree with you. And then I think too, like she was powerful enough in her own way. Her guards were powerful enough in their own way to stand up to any threat. Like she had the power of the words. She was fully capable of protecting herself. So she had to have just resigned herself, which is crazy to think of because you resign yourself to this horrific death. Could you not have poisoned yourself and then let him come to you? Why did you allow it to be that gruesome? Yeah.
Also, that she allowed, like, maybe allowed is the wrong word, but was settled with leaving her last conversation with Selena as what it was. And again, I don't think she knew exactly when it was going to happen or how. However, if I know I'm about to die and I have who I would say is my best friend, and we just had a disagreement and left on rocky, like, interaction terms. You better believe I'm picking up the phone and being like, "So I know this was just 5 minutes ago, but hey, wanna settle that?"
And if you did that to me, where you left me on red like that, I would open up a portal to talk to you and be like, let's reconcile because I can't live like that. It's so horrible. Which also kind of brings me to this really important question. Did you think Nehemia was a bad friend?
I think, again, you know me, I don't think in black and whites. That being said, I think she put the the cause or the needs above her friendship with
Hmm.
Selena. And so I think in that moment, she had to make some really hard choices. And would I say in some of those choices was a bad friend? Yes. And understandably so, given the path that she knew she had to take and she knew Selena or Dorian had to go on.
Right. I mean, also in some capacity, it's like a double edged sword. She was withholding information, but she also knew Selena was withholding information too, because she'd already spoken to Mort. She knew that Selena was down here. So she knew she wasn't telling her all those things. So yeah. And I truly believe that Nehemia knew exactly who Selena was because the clues are all there. There's some
Mhm.
discourse about whether or not she knew exactly who she was, or she was kind of like in our camp where she's like, she knew she was important. She knew she was of royalty and could be helpful to the cause. But I think she knew exactly who she was because she knows the day of her parents' death. And she says some things you feel in words and some things you just like feel, right?
Yeah, and when Kale read that passage of her eye color and it was someone's scribbled notes, again, I think Nehemia would have had that knowledge, like, of being aware of what that lineage looked like and seeing Selena for the first time. I can't fully recall, but I do think there was a moment of recognition in Nehemia's description.
Ooh, okay, interesting. Yeah, I don't think she started off going into the castle and knowing exactly who she was. I think it was like definitely a learning moment throughout.
Mhm.
But I do think it was in the first book that she clocked who she was, just not in the most obvious way. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think? So this was one of my gripes on this note about friendship and each of them having their secrets. I really didn't like that Nehemia was working on that riddle and trying to solve it. And then at the same time was minimizing when Selena brought it up. I totally understand not bringing it up and giving it to her as like here's this thing I'm in on. But when Selena brings it up and she tries to squash it, turns away from it, I really didn't like.
Okay, I never thought about it. I'm so glad you brought it up because if she's interested in she's still taking the path that could find out about these word marks and about these word keys and about how important they are and whether or not the king has them, which Nahimia already knows. Why does her death have to set her on the path? Why couldn't the threat of something so big set her on the path? And if you guys worked on that riddle together, you would both have that information together.
Yes.
So, yeah. That's a really good point. Oh, it's infuriating. Just made me like lose my mind a little here.
Yeah. I know, because I agree. Right now, I don't think it added to the plot having them like working silently together and waiting until after her death for Selena to actually address it.
Yeah. What do you think of Kale taking the blame?
Taking the blame and shipping her off.
Ooh, part two. But part
Okay.
one, taking the blame of Nehemiah's death because he hadn't been upfront with her. She wasn't in the castle, et cetera, et cetera.
I guess I couldn't understand whether his motives for doing that were self-serving. Like, he never believes he deserves someone as like wholehearted as Selena, or as like able to cut through the bullshit and see people who for who they are. Like Kale is always putting himself down, like playing second fiddle. And so part of me didn't know, is he doing that because he feels he deserves it? Or
Mm,
is he doing that because he's trying to mend their relationship or repair it or put Selena's needs ahead of his own? And he can see she's already so burdened by Nehemia's death. I'm going to do this to try and lessen some of that burden. And
mm.
because I don't know which one it was, I'm unsettled.
Right. And I feel like for the beginning stages of him making that decision, he thought, well, the king is trusting me, and this isn't really important information for Selena to have. So I'm not going to give it to her because I know this is how she's going to react. That kind of lingered on my mind the entire time he was going through the grief process and having all the guilt. I'm like, well, did you put your relationship second in this particular instance for something that was so big? Or did you put your relationship second because you thought it was a meaningless moment? You didn't think it was going to be this big. But I think it speaks volumes that Archer is preying on that, right? He's trying to take Selena's relationships and isolate her so that he can prey on her. And that's why he chooses Kale to kidnap and find out whether or not he has, in fact, told her. I think that was just such a cool little aspect of the story to know that Archer was so deceitful, so manipulative, which 100% I felt like worked well with his courtesan character. Like, yes, those are all skills you need. Those are all the things you need to be able to, infiltrate these people in power and gain good relationships with them. So I loved that little thread.
And I do think it makes sense why Selena was able to put those breadcrumbs together, where we see her being so intelligent and so intuitive in other situations and good at reading people. It made so much sense to me why this was a blind spot, because it's
Yes.
someone that she, yeah, cared for, can relate to. And she is mistrusting of him in the beginning. Like, you see her being hesitant, but it's for a completely different reason. So
Yeah.
that kind of masks her ability to actually put like all of these pieces together until the very end when he shows
Right.
up in the tunnels.
I know. And this is also her childhood crush, right? This is her childhood crush. She sees herself in him, as you said, with him being a courtesan, her being an assassin, them owing these like big debts and being trained from young to be things that they didn't want to be. For her not to connect the dots, that's so hard. Here's like the most relatable person to you right now. And he isolated you. You were already so far removed from the first person, Dorian. Now you're removed from Kale. Nehemia's dead. So, how hard must it have been to connect those dots? But she did it. Our girl
Mm.
did it.
Yes.
A little too late, but she did it. I wanted to talk about a character that I think is so underrated in the series, Philippa, right? The fact that she gets her these hairpins that are also weapons. Girl, like, what was your
Yes.
role in the castle? Should you be helping out the knights? I feel like you're not doing enough. When Kale brings her back from the dungeons, she's like, we must wash her. She's just so kind and caring. And I love that she has this like motherly figure. This is really shown in her actions is when Kale finds her will and it says can you also consider giving some to Philippa? Like, why
Uh,
didn't you just leave some to Philippa? Or how come I just wish there was more of her really appreciating Philippa for who she is.
and I agree. I think Philippa was written as a character that is easily seen but not heard.
Mm.
And so, in that way, we don't hear Selena talk of her or think of her. But when she is present, it is those key moments and doing some of those things like without question, without judgment, or with some judgment, but again, in a very like affectionate, motherly way. And
Yeah.
then not telling the king about it, like not telling Dorian, not telling Kale. She is just there to be present in what you can tell her moral compass feels as right, as opposed
Mhm.
to the situation that she's in.
I never want her to leave. I love her. Last time we were talking about how we were putting two and two together, even though we're doing a reread, but it was the first time we're putting two and two together with the flapping of the wings. And
Oh,
oh, I can't wait till she goes back and talks to Caltaine in the dungeon. Totally forgot she gets thrown in the dungeon and is with Caltaine for a number of days, and they have all this time to talk about it.
same.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that part too. And I was like, wait, she's going into the dungeon? Like,
Here's that conversation we've been waiting for.
yes.
How do you feel about Selena actually attacking Kale?
When I read it, I totally empathized with her. I was like, 100%. You've just been betrayed after opening your heart up to someone who you thought reciprocated that and thought was choosing you. And there had been little moments leading up to the big betrayal that Kale did choose her over the king. Like he was sneaking moments with her, even so far back as the initial competition and him offering his sword and supporting her, right? So I think from that point alone, I get it. And then you mix in just the complete raw grief of seeing Nehemia's death in front of her and Kale being the first person there that she sees
Yeah.
and knowing her history of she talks about like snapping or just going into a blind rage, right? So here for it.
I was here for it. I just want to speak to your point about Kale showing that he chooses her first. I do recognize where you're coming from, but I also feel like he does it from a selfish vantage point because he's sneaking moments with her. He's sneaking moments with her for him too, versus in this moment where the king says, keep this a secret. That's your job on the line that you're protecting versus her relationship with Nehemia. And that really pissed me off. But going back to her blind rage, I really liked that this is where we see her realize Dorian has magic. And that's how she realizes it. Oh, because we can't have a moment where our assassin isn't able to get Kale. So what's going to stop her? The magic.
Yes,
Ugh.
so true. And I love that we finally have an on page description of this secondary magic system. Like we've heard about the word marks and we've heard about there's this other magic that's managed to stay present even through the loss of magic throughout the kingdom. And then now we finally have, okay, what is this other magic that should be throughout the kingdom? And in the first half reading of like kind of coming into his magic, that was one thing that I was surprised that Selena didn't put two and two together because she stumbles into Dorian in the hallway right after he's had this first instance of punching the window pane or the wall and it splintering and frost being present and it being cold. There was another interaction too, I think, where she walks in on Dorian and there's a chill in the room. Like there's
Mhm.
all these hints, and I was shocked that she didn't put it together because she knows what this magic system is.
Right. I also loved the explanation of why he has the magic. The king has eradicated all the magic except the magic in him, which means his lineage's magic also lives on, and Dorian has that magic. This makes me laugh because later in the book, Dorian, he discovers he has magic. He realizes his magic is really flipping strong. He's seen it interact with Chaos. And then you get to the near the end where he's having a dream. And in the dream, Gavin's like, hey, there's going to be a tapestry in her room. You got to go save her. Let's go. Chop, chop. And what does he do? He runs to Kale. I had a dream. I'm like, yeah, enough crazy things happen to you in the span of this book that it's like, I had a dream. We have to act on it. Zero questions. Let's go.
Yeah.
And Kale's like, wait, a dream? I still
Okay,
believe
but
in it.
as your friend, if I came a knocking in the middle of the night, it was like, Sin, I have a dream. We gotta go. You would 100% not ask questions. You'd be like, yeah, let me just get dressed. We're going.
I mean, like, whatever cocktail you had, I'll take 2 and
Yeah.
let's go. But I just thought that was so funny and such a testament to how many weird things had happened to this poor man in such a short period of time that he's like, you know what? Let me follow this dream.
Yeah.
And Kale, I do appreciate that there was a moment of we'll figure this out later.
The question, Kale, I think he goes, is Selena injured or something? And Dorian's like, I don't know. Yeah, that seems legit. Let's go anyways.
That sounds like a reason to run. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Such a real moment for me is again her blind rage and her inability to like control herself is when Fleetfoot is being dragged into the flipping portal.
I gotta be honest. I had to pause reading, and the first time I read it, I absolutely skimmed it to make sure that Fleetfoot was alive because I couldn't. I couldn't
Yeah.
deal with it.
So real because 100% when I saw he was like pulled in, same thing. I was like, is he on the next page? Like, I just need to know. And it's the word after dead because otherwise
Yeah.
I need a break. I love that he's okay. Healer says he's going to be fine. And also, we'll stay with Dorian while she goes off to Wendelin.
And that Kale goes in after Fleetfoot when Selena and Dorian were already on their way to being safe.
Yeah.
Ugh, just
Yeah.
heartwarming.
And something like that really needed to happen to be able to make us understand why she could even speak to him again. Because it is a big jump. Like, even though she finds out, hey, Archer set him up and this really wasn't in his power to some extent, something big had to happen for her to really put her heart out there. And it was like sad at the end to see him say, like, I love you. And her share all that secrets, sharing these secrets because she knows I'm leaving now because you made me leave. Someone has to know about this stuff here because if something happens to me, I can't be the only one with the secret.
Yes. And trusting him that he might not agree with it in this moment, but if something were to happen to her, maybe that would cause him to take pause and
Yeah,
reflect on all this again, and he could follow through with it.
100%. I really loved at the end of that whole interaction with the monster and Nehemia and closing the gate when they talk about, "Oh, we should all have a drink. We need one." There's a moment where you truly feel like we're all going to be friends again and everything's going to be fine, which I loved because I'm like, let's take out the romance for a second and let's just be this trio. Let's go forward together. And even though I've already read this book, the crushing feeling of her sending Dorian out of the room and then finding out she's leaving and that Kale might also be leaving and the three are going to be separated. I was, Sarah, can I just have a moment with
We
my three
just got them
people?
back together.
My friends, why did you take them away from me? I'm just checking my notes, but my last for me, there was a moment where we think Selena's going to leave Archer alive. And I was angry because I couldn't remember if she did kill him. I would have lost my damn mind. I hate him so much.
How did you feel about the reason for her considering not is Nehemia's reminder of not letting that light go out in her?
I mean, so much of this book is talking about you can be an assassin and still be a good person. Not in the real world, but here, very much so. Because you know what? In the context of the book, we've always been seeing her kill people that deserved it. And in the latter half, she's not killing anyone, she's letting them go. So she's really, truly never let that light guide her. She slips up with Graves because she could have killed him and not had it brutal. I don't know. Maybe I should stop speaking because I'm kind of glorifying murder in a little way. So skip along, skip along. I do think it was okay that she killed him. He deserved to die. That's my thought.
Yeah. Yeah, fair. I liked for the character development though, and for the strengthening of that relationship with her and Nehemia, even post death, that she did take pause and she did try and walk away and give him another chance.
Yeah, right. It's reflective. And the fact that what he says is what turns her, I loved that. There's also all these little pieces like Arabin told me who you were. And I want to desperately know, like, does he actually know who she was? What's the vibe?
Yeah, agreed. And that's where I couldn't put my finger on. Did he know she was just Faye in general? Did he know she was part of a magic wielding family? Did she
Right.
like, to what level did he know?
Yes. I had 2 points that I wanted to discuss from the last book, but I just thought this was wild, is that Selena was always questioning from book 1 and in book 2 what the king's motives would be to use the word marks, but she never wonders how Cain knew about them and why he was wielding them. So that was, like, interesting to me that she kind of let that slip by. Another thought I had from the book, bless you,
Sorry.
an idea I had from the last book that I just needed to get out was, why in God's name does a king keep Kale around? What is Kale's purpose to the king? Because he still has this like secret person that's committing all the tortures. Kale seemingly has never killed someone except for Cain in the first book. So what's the figurehead status of having this captain of the guard that doesn't do anything for you and you have to hide things from because you're evil? Why not just hire someone evil?
I think, though, the king thinks like a blind army man.
A blind army man.
Will follow the king's orders above all else.
I mean, he proved he would.
Facts. But also, I think the king sees Kale as someone who bolsters the king's reputation as this like good guy, kind person. The soldiers admire him. So, for all of the king's evils, he feels like maybe this is a balance, but a balance I can control and never have to worry about stabbing me in the back.
Fair is fair. That's true. But if he's so blindly loyal and able to follow orders, why isn't he making him do the torture? He's still hiding it from him.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it his
true.
connection to his dad? Is it connection to his kingdom?
But then there is a point, right, where the king says, like, if only Kale was my son and not Dorian, in doing whatever I need to for the kingdom. I don't know what it is that keeps the king keeping Kale out of the more nefarious acts.
Yeah, fair.
Okay, I gotta give a shout out to our man Mort because we haven't talked about him at all. But when Selena goes back down to the tomb and finally puts the riddle together, and they have this moment where Mort is like, the king solved this quicker than you at your age.
Also, why is the king giving her this room if he knows about the tunnels?
That is the question of the century.
Did you forget?
Agreed. But I had to give snaps for more. I was cackling when he was just ribbing her, and you can tell she's so focused on the task at hand. She's trying not to bite, but at the same time, they have this little back and forth. I wish she could take the door with her and Mort could be part of her travels.
Okay, but she tells Dorian, hey, you might have some questions. You should go talk downstairs to this person. He can't come up. But I don't think at any point she's like, by the way, when you go down, it's going to be a doorknob that you're speaking to. Have a great time.
Yes. And knowing she gives him that advice, knowing how much Mort hates the king and never spoke to the king.
And how useless he was to her in some capacity as well. Well, speaking of telling people to talk to people that have no value, let's talk Love Island. You got to watch movie night. But even before movie night, talk to me about your thoughts on Casa.
I just want to eat any of my words where I said this season was boring because I do think to our previous conversation, producers heard that and went, I see you're boring and I will raise you absolute mayhem.
I have so much gripe with this season of Love Island USA because I feel like I see online all the discourse and I just need everyone to take a deep breath in and to lead with emotional intelligence. Just like try, hone in, it would be great. But the boys during movie night are like, well, if they played this clip first, you guys would have the same reaction because they're watching Anaya and Carl and everyone's like, oh. But when it was sincere and every other person, they were so mad. But you guys are failing to understand that the girls watched your entire heart rate challenge. They saw what you said, they saw what you did, and then they moved accordingly in their side of the villa. They didn't just do whatever with
Arbitrarily.
blinders on. Yeah,
Yeah.
they saw it. And again, to their point, everyone was allowed to explore. No one was closed off, but you could do so respectfully. The comments that were being made by Corbin and Casey, so disrespectful, so unnecessary. You could have done everything you were doing, brought someone back, it would have been upset, but it wouldn't have been that backlash if you had just done so with some respect.
Yes. You know what's interesting hearing you say that is I had the exact same feelings, and I was watching it with my partner and he didn't see that. And I was like, is
Same.
yeah, I was like, "Is this just the difference between males and females? Am I over identifying with the females?" Don't get me wrong, during movie night, I hated that it just became like our team against your team because I don't actually think that was effective for them being able to digest what they're watching and talk about it. It bolstered just a big fight.
Yeah.
Again, I think the producers knew what they were doing when they chose the clips and had them sit like that. However, it astounded me because I totally agree. The setup was there for the girls and then they responded. And on
Hmm.
top of that, we never heard, with the exception of Kenzie, which again, I'm going to eat my words because I was Team Kenzie to begin with. With the exception of Kenzie, we never saw any of the girls really downplaying the connection they did have or belittling the interactions they had with their original.
Grandma,
Yes.
unnecessary.
Don't get me wrong. I love being called a grandma because I love knitting. I love crafts. I love reading. I don't love cooking, so don't put me in that grandma category, but all of
I'll
the
take
other
it.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Sourdough.
I am here for grandma core, but
Yeah.
when used as a way to describe Anaya as being, like, lame, essentially,
Or lacking in affection or not wanting to explore in that capacity.
yeah, you can tell the words were intended to put someone else down to justify your actions, and that was across the board with the guys, and
Right.
again, I think the producers set them up, like, you're there with your boys, you're getting hype, you just get told you're going to Casa, and then you're in the heart rate challenge, which the heart rate challenge always brings about that energy from guys and
Right.
girls. So I get it, you're gonna say things you don't mean, but some of the guys doubled down afterwards in Casa, and that was hurtful.
It was like a lot of what I got to hear was double standard, double standard, double standard. I'm like, if you think there's a double standard, you're failing to understand what led to their actions versus the lack of things that led to their actions. And one of the things that the boys said, Corbin apologizes later and says, because I was with the boys, I was hyped up and said these things. Okay, but men everywhere, I shouldn't generalize, but a lot of men have been getting really upset about the fact that women are saying, men are trash. And that's, because women are together and they're hyped up by other women and they're angry at men for the things that have happened to them. I understand why men would be upset with that. I can understand that we can't have this man hating behavior. We can dislike certain men for things that happen to us. That's fine. But to generalize is problematic. So, how is it okay that when you're with your boys, you can generalize and be like, "Oh, Kenzie, who?" That's so distasteful. To me, you're just proving that every time you're going to go out as boys, you mean nothing to me. That's gross behavior. Let's move on to Kenzie because she is the anomaly in this discussion we are
Yeah.
having. You were going to eat your words.
Yeah, absolutely. I think last time we spoke about this was when we just saw her communicating to both Corbin and what's his name?
Caleb?
Thank you. And she was being honest and transparent with both of them. That swerved very quickly.
Yeah.
And again, it's not her actions in terms of exploring connections that I have a problem with, but the same with the how the guys moved. Her and Sincere were essentially doing the same thing. They're saying the same things to each person they're talking to and not actually being honest of like I love when in Love Island people use percentages and they're like, I'm like 60 you, 40 you. Like, great. Good
Yes.
communication. That's very helpful. We
Right.
understand. And I
Yes.
don't think she did that, and then I feel sad because then she apologized, but then doubled down a bit and was like, "It's a handshake." And I was like, "Oh,
I'm never
no."
going to handshake somebody now because I'm like, is this intimate? Oops.
Literally. We went and bought a suit the other day, and the guy went to shake my hand, and I was like, "This is uncomfortable now."
This is like kissing. I'm cheating.
He's right here.
I fully supported Kenzie in her exploring, especially because she really said in the early parts of the season, like, I've never done this before. I'm always like a one guy girl. I've never dated multiple people at a time. So this is really difficult for me, which is fair. And not only that, but you're doing it publicly. But Melanie and Corbin are coupled up when Kenzie has a connection with Corbin. And when they have a conversation, Melanie and Kenzie, Kenzie's visibly upset. She's like, I mean, you have to do what you have to do, but she's upset about it. And then later kisses Corbin and says, we're not going to tell anyone. That's where the lines to me blurred. Because you can go kiss Corbin and then also tell Melanie, hey, I kissed him. I'm still exploring my connection with him, which is what I think she failed to understand. The moment she started hiding things, that was awkward. And also, to your point, I don't think truly she knew which connection she wanted to explore. I think in her mind, she's like, this is what I want, but this is what I'm attracted to. And I feel like the word lustful is being thrown out a lot. And I do feel in some capacity, she was like, I'm lustful about this relationship and I could grow this relationship meaningfully and emotionally, but I'm going to continue with the lustful. And then that's where everything's went awry for her.
Agreed. I had this thought watching the movie night that actually was very impressed with Bryce and was sad because some movie nights we get like a naughty or nice videos, right? Like there's some videos that are heartwarming and everyone's so happy. And I was waiting for Trinity and Bryce to have some of those videos shown, or even Bryce, because I think the way we're starting to see more of him on screen is wholesome. Emotionally intelligent is being thrown around this season, and I don't think many people deserve it. But Bryce
Yes.
claps. Like when he turns to Sincere and is like, you just have to say you're right. You just have to validate her. Stop talking.
Right.
And he does it quietly. He doesn't try and get in his face. He's just trying to be that supportive friend that's like, hey, this is what you need to do to be effective in this moment, even if you disagree with.
I don't cry often on shows like this. When he came out of Casa and sees Trinity standing by herself, I was a bucket of tears. I just love this. And just like background knowledge, because I found this out, and I'm not crying on the pod, but I found out that he was actually scouted for the show. He did not apply to be on it. He was scouted, he hadn't seen it. So, like, that's why. Do you know that he and Trinity are girlfriend boyfriend?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, for him, like he missed the closed off part of it. He doesn't do the exclusive part of it because he's not watched the show. He doesn't understand that those are these stages. This is my girlfriend now. I'm good. So for him to be this excited about it on the show and this like emotionally connected to her and excited about her. And later he says, like that's the happiest I've been in a really long time. It's just so beautiful to see and then know, hey, prior to this wasn't actually trying to pursue this show. So I love
Mhm.
that so much. I also want to say for Casey and Anaya, the boys just don't get why Casey got so much hate from those comments. But what I really couldn't stand was when the girls are so articulate in explaining to TT and to Parmita, this has nothing to do with you guys. We're not upset that you're back. You're beautiful. You deserve to be there. They're so complimentary.
Mhm.
They say, we're just mad about the way they moved. And both girls were so fiery and defensive of these men. You're not listening at all. You did not listen to a
Mhm.
dang word these girls said. Made me mad. So it took me a
Yeah.
little longer to warm up to those two because of the way they fired back. I was like, just listen. Do you need the subtitles on?
In previous episodes, after coming back from Casa, TT did say that Casey was being disrespectful in how he was
Mhm.
talking about Anaya. So I'm like, TT, we know you're aware of this. So it's not
Right.
the first time you're hearing the girls say these things. And again, I think situationally, like putting myself in their shoes, like even Kata all of a sudden gets mad about something that I don't think she really needed to get so angry about. But I think it's just the emotion in the room is so high. Your cortisol, your nervous system is like completely shot. So anyone says anything to you at that point, and right away your defenses are up. So I just don't think you'd be taking in that very well articulated share.
It's so fair. You're so kind for that. My girl Trinity was talking, and I was like, why are you talking back to my girl Trinity? It was so bad. I was like, she just had the happiest moment of her life. Calm down.
Yes. Although I will say, I didn't agree with how fired up Trinity got and some of the things as it escalated she was saying. However, throughout this whole season, Trinity has been saying to Bryce, to other people, like, I am usually kind of unhinged and fly off the handle. Like, I'm usually pretty explosive. And Bryce has been this person to me that I'm not with. Like, I'm so calm. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like I want to be the happiest version of myself around him. And so to see her get fired up a little bit. I was a tiny bit happy because I'm like, okay, this is what you're talking about. Like, this is the fire.
Two things about that. One, the entire time she's fired up, Bryce is just like, wow. Like he's just looking at her and like
I
to
didn't
me,
clock
the way that I viewed it, he's like, well, it's hot. Like he's into it. The other thing was right before that happens and they make out and her makeup is all over his face and he's like, leave it. I was
Yeah.
like, just stand for this man so much on the show. It really shows you that they should skew older because he is one of the older contestants. So the emotional maturity and the genuine want for love is there. It's kind of like, what are we promoting as a show as good relationships? Because at this point, the culture of dating is really negative on the show. We've only had one date, and the only other thing that's happened is like one couple has gone to the hideaway and you didn't even give them the date first. So it seems like we're just promoting like insane hookup culture, which I know that's what the show is built on. But if we're still going to pretend it's Love Island and we want connections, okay, it's fine if you make it with a bunch of people. It's just like a handshake, so that's not a big deal. But later, you want to develop some emotional connections. Why are you sending them to a hideaway without a date? That just feels so icky.
And so soon, I agree. I do think this season in particular has strayed away from some of their more like kind of standard flow. And I
Yeah,
wonder if that's because people thought it was boring. However, sometimes I think when couples go away on dates, it is a chance to just take a breath outside of the villa. Like you forget
right.
the bubble that you're in is so intense and like
Mhm.
you have to be on all the time in it. So to give couples a chance to be away from that and to kind of get to know each other on a calmer setting,
Right.
I think adds to the show in other ways than just relationship dynamics.
100%. Oh, what did you think of Kata finding out on movie night that Alana had been kicked off and there was actually no one for Zach to bring back?
Okay, also, I just want to say, like, screw Love Island for having both of our names be run through the mud. Like, we don't need that.
I know, why are you so racist, Alana? Jeez.
Like, because I knew to expect it. Like, I had seen things online, but I didn't know who exactly it was. And so my feelers were out, and I was like, it's going to be Alana. They did us both dirty.
Not gonna lie, I did appreciate that. So I'm like, how did we get sincere? And I go by sincerity. And then they start calling him Sin. I'm like, that's so rude. And then when Alana came on, I was like, it's gonna be her. Coming for your brand, Alana.
I'm not here for it. I want to make a very clear statement that is not who I want to associate with.
I know for a fact she has friends of color, so we can trust Alana. She is a good one. I'm her ally.
You're talking about the Love
No,
Island
no.
Alana. I'm like,
This one. This one. If you're watching on video, I am pointing. It's the other voice in the room. But yeah, that's how she finds out. What did you think?
I think, yes, it's a bit surprising. In a way, it would be hard for her to hear that. And like Zach's actions, I think he handled coming back from Casa very well. Like, I think he owned what he did. Yeah. He apologized to her even after the movie night. He's like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm sorry. And didn't try and like diminish how she was feeling. I think there was one throwaway comment, but then he kind of was like, okay. And it felt like so long ago that I was like, does this really matter? And in Casa, what we saw was true. Like right after he had that kiss with Alana, he did say, like, I'm not fully present at times because I am thinking of Kata. So I do feel again like those videos sometimes are just so unfair because you get like the drama snippet of
Like we were watching the same show at some point. Before this is shown, Zach says to Kata, if I wanted to bring her back, I would have. You could not do that. She physically left. So he lied. And
Yeah.
when she finds out, he says out loud to the boys, I knew this was going to happen, which to me was, I knew when she found out she left, she was going to think I didn't bring someone back because there were no options, which had you been upfront about it, she would never have thought that. You could say, hey, I had this connection, but I actually told this connection X, Y, and Z, and then they were removed from the villa or they left, whatever.
Right.
You didn't need to pretend they were still there for you to choose from, which I
Yeah.
thought very dishonest behavior.
Absolutely fair. I did not pick up on that. And hearing you say that feels icky.
Alana, I think we have to pause here and continue the rest of our discussions on the next pod because we are really wrapping up on time here. So we are going to continue some Love Island in our next episode. We are not fully caught up, but we will have gotten a little bit ahead. And we are going to move on to Assassin's Blade. For everyone who's reading along with us, we are doing the first 3 stories, the novellas. And we can't wait to get into it and see if you agree with our reading order. Yay! Thanks for joining. Bye.